Good evening, all you speedrunning fans out there. Hope you guys enjoyed the Ori race you just got to see, especially if you were also coming over from the GDQ hotfix stream earlier. Ori is far from over for the day. We've still got quite a few races coming up. This next one coming up is going to definitely be an entertaining one. If you were at GDQ hotfix, you got to see the man, the myth, the legend himself, Hetfield. He's going to be one of our runners. Barely needs any introduction. He is our world record holder, an unbelievably talented technical player. He's going to be putting on quite a show. And his opponent is going to be bdbRufus, who is quite a bit newer of a runner than he is. But despite that, has still managed to put up a pretty respectable time. As far as what we're going to look for out of this race, it's going to be a little bit difficult for bdbRufus to maybe pull this win out, given that his opponent is Hetfield, and Hetfield can beat pretty much every other Ori planet, or runner on the planet. But this is Ori, and absolutely anything can happen, especially if Hetfield gets overconfident and tries to go for a bunch of very difficult strats that could, not pay off for him and end up costing him a lot of time. So you never know what you're going to see when it comes to an Ori race. It's not that long of a run, and mistakes are very costly. So commenting with me, by the way, I'm Roos is Loose. I was one of the runners on the one that just happened. And my commentary buddy is going to be Sonic Screwdriver. You want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. You sounded so good, and like you knew what you're talking about. I thought I would just let you go.
That's a dangerous impression for me to make.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to this race. It's going to be a lot of I don't know. Anytime Hetfield runs, it's always worth watching because you never know what you're going to see. But most difficult strats, so it's fun to see because. I don't know throughout the whole tournament if he's going to go for 3 health, but I know in some of the races in the past and that he has said that he does plan on only going for 3 health, and it always makes stuff super interesting.
Absolutely. 3 health on Hetfield is kind of like 4 health on everybody else because he's so incredibly talented that, everybody else takes 4 health so they can get hit twice. Hetfield's not worried about getting hit twice. He's the kind of player who's going to go for the difficult strats, and 1 hit that kills his run, that's fine. He's going to reset, and he's going to get world record on the next one. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was trying to check to see where we were at with getting the race started, because it looks like both runners are in position, so.
Yeah, we were just getting a little bit of technical difficulties sorted out with getting one of the streams up. But I think we're getting pretty close to ready here. Looks like the players are readying up. All right, so looks like, yeah, everybody's just about ready to get going. They're going to start the countdown. All right, it is going now. We'll be getting going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Good luck to both of these runners. Let's definitely try and get an entertaining race out of this one. All right, so most of you guys should still be kind of familiar with this if you saw the last race or GDQ hotfix or any of the other ones. But if you just showed up here, real quick rundown. This is a Metroidvania-style platformer, 2-dimensional. It's exploration-based. It's all about finding abilities that are going to make you move faster, give you more movement options. We're going to collect all of those. We're going to end the game as fast as possible. So as far as the starting area that we're in, Rude, what did you tell me what you think about Sunken Glades?
Sunken Glades is probably the most, I don't know, it's probably the scariest part of the run, to be honest. It seems simple. You can run and jump, but everything wants to kill you, and if you do die, it costs a lot of times because there aren't a lot of saves. So for me personally, if I get out of Sunken Glades, I pretty much PB every time.
Absolutely. It's pretty much a meme in the Ori community that you just never leave Glades because your movement options are so limited that you're almost always going to get it with a spike, or you're not going to pick up some experience you need or something like that, and it's going to ruin your day. You're going to have to reset if you're in PvE attempts.
So, Roos, as someone who just did a run in this category, what do you think is the most difficult part of All Skills No Out of Bounds?
In my mind, it's definitely Sorrow Pass without question. That's going to be the area it's kind of bright and orange. There's a lot of spikes everywhere. There's a lot of vertical wind. It's got some extremely difficult tech where you're juggling enemies around and you're using rocket jumps to fly around. But the really scary part about it is even if you take the safety 4th health, which I would definitely imagine Rufus will be taking, Hetfield will probably be skipping. Even if you take it, all of the spikes are still going to kill you in 1 hit. And because you're flinging yourself around so fast, that is so easy to do. You definitely saw me kill myself twice on those spikes in my run earlier.
I do believe that Rufus, at least he said he was planning on going for 5 health in this run. So even though it gives him 1 extra hit, that's all it is. Even with 5 health, it's still like one of the most dangerous things in the planet.
Absolutely. Even 5 health is not that safe. Now, those Sorrow Pass spikes that I told you about, they do 4 damage. So 5 health is kind of a nice threshold to hit where suddenly spikes that were a 1-hit kill become a 2-hit kill. So if you're a newer runner and you want to have a lot of safety, taking 5 health is not a bad idea. It's not all that costly in terms of time, and it's going to save you some runs.
So it looks like that they're both through Ghost Door. Het is maybe a little bit ahead, especially because I didn't see he didn't go for the 4th health, whereas Rufus is on his way to the 4th health right now.
Oh, if I know Hetfield, he'll never take a 4th health. And yeah, he's showing his UI. He definitely did not. The only time I think I've ever seen Hetfield not go for as many difficult strats as possible was in the GDQ hotfix race earlier when he skipped fast Frankie Walk, and that's because that's just such a ridiculously risky strat, and the payoff is not that big. In general, though, he's not going to hold back from his strats just because it's a race.
How long has Hetfield been running in Ori and the Blind Forest, though?
He came in a few months before Vanilla was finished, so at this point it'd be a little over a year, and he has absolutely taken it by storm. I remember the first time I saw his stream, he had been learning the game for maybe 2 weeks, and I saw, I was like, oh, he's been running for 2 weeks. I'll go in, I'll help him learn some strats, we'll teach him up. And I came in, and he was blowing my times away with insane play, and I was like, this guy is the real deal, isn't he? And sure enough, he's now, like, every category he's touched, he's got world record in, and by a pretty wide margin too.
And in contrast, Rufus has, I think, been playing this. Let's see, he's been playing this since August during the 12-hour challenge. He picked it up. So in contrast,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in contrast, for the amount of time he's put in, the times he's put up are pretty solid times and really decent.
Yeah, there's it's been kind of an interesting evolution of our Ori community lately. There's been a very, very large amount of growth taking place lately. There's been sort of like 2 big waves of new runners. One took place a while back when it just seemed like there was 12-hour challenge runners picking up, and we got some new runners. I think probably one of the best examples of that wave of runners is Trojan Dude, who you've heard on commentary. He's now one of the more established runners. He's been around for a little while. And then there's an even newer wave that's been huge, and bdbRufus is in one of those. There's been a lot of new runners who have picked up the game, and a lot of them are just unbelievably talented, putting up times that, when I learned this game maybe a year and a half ago, and they're already putting up times that are much better than I had at this point in my career.
And it does look like Hetfield did make it through the Save Anywhere glitch. I didn't see it, but I heard earlier he had some issues with that during the hotfix.
He did, yeah. There was some sort of bug where, like, he did the save glitch, but the game crashed. Like, it didn't completely crash. He could still move his mouse, but it just went to a blank black screen. He ended up having to exit out. Fortunately, his backup it's still saved, so he was able to continue basically from where he left off. It wasn't that costly, but it could have been disastrous.
Yeah, I've never heard of that or seen that. Oh, and it looks like he was wanting to skip along the spikes there for a little added drama. But both of them are in Blackroot Burrow, which is the new area for DE. What makes Blackroot Burrow so complicated?
Well, as you can see on bdbRufus' screen on the right, there are spikes everywhere. And the nice thing about this game is that the further in you get, the more skills you have, the more options you have for your movement. But we're still early. We have very little in the way of options to move around. You basically have a jump and you can run. So that pretty much limits your options to getting away from enemies to those 2 abilities right there. And it's even worse because we have to carry this little orb through. And as you can see, when you're carrying that orb, you're even slower and your jumps are even worse. And you have to catch these platform cycles that are suspended in midair. You've got these fireballs shooting at you. It's all just, a real perfect storm of problems to have to deal with. And it generates a lot of resets.
And I imagine if you miss one of those platforms and fall back all the way to the spikes, that it's pretty much an insta-death.
Your time is not going to be going so well at that point. You definitely had a ruin today once that happens.
So Hetfield's starting the little cutscene animation over here, and we'll shortly be getting Dash. After Dash, he's going to be heading out to Frankie Walk. Do you think he's going to go for the fast Frankie?
You know what? I'd call it a 50-50 shot. I think either he's going to I don't need to do it because my time on my PB is a lot faster, or he's just going to do it because he thinks maybe he can afford to and he wants to swag out a bit. So we're going to see which Hetfield showed up. Although, that said, despite the fact that there's 10 minutes difference in their PB, Rufus is not that far behind. Like, he's starting the cutscene to activate Dash, and Hetfield just got Dash. So, you know, they're maybe 30-ish seconds apart right now. And, you know, they're a fifth of the way through the run or so, a fourth to a fifth of the way through. So he's definitely putting on a good performance for himself.
Yeah, and it's not like Hetfield's been making some huge mistakes or deaths that have been slowing him down. It's purely that Rufus has been, for the most part, keeping up with Hetfield.
Rufus is having a nice clean run. We've actually had a ton of PBs in races starting this week. Like, I think we're up to 4 or 5, and if you include Lucy's in the hotfix, it's like 5 or 6 PBs in races. Given the pace he's on, Rufus could absolutely be number 7.
So it does not look like fast Frankie for Hetfield today. A decision that did work out for him earlier, but I will say I'm sad. I'm a little disappointed. I like seeing fast Frankie. It's always impressive.
Absolutely. It's a real exciting moment because all of a sudden you've bet more than a minute on your ability to do this one very difficult trick, and the payoff is only 8 seconds, so it really just like focuses your excitement really, really hard. But we won't be seeing it in this race, unfortunately.
So Hetfield just picked up another energy cells, heading on his way down. The early cycle here that we are now able to get because of Dash, how much time does that actually save?
If you can make it, it's around 8 seconds, because each of these platform cycles is 8 seconds. Oh, yeah, unfortunately. The nice thing about this trick, though, is if you fail it, you don't lose any time because you were going to have to wait for the cycle anyway. So it's pretty much a free attempt, with the exception that there is a frame that if you get right in between the crushers there, you can't actually get squished. But it's literally, you know, a pixel or so. So it's pretty rare, but it does happen.
And then a lot of times you'll see the runners take damage like Hetfield just did in order to die immediately to get Ghost Door. So sometimes they'll be taking damage on purpose, even though it will look kind of awkward. We do that in multiple spots in the run. And does not look like Rufus got the early cycle. It's pretty close, though.
Yeah, to get it, you have to do, basically you have to dash into that energy crystal that's on and get yourself kind of ramp off it into there. And unfortunately, the dash didn't work out for him. But he didn't lose any time to Hetfield because Hetfield didn't get it either. All right, so if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see Rufus demonstrating that ghost door we were talking about, where basically they're going to glitch out the animation of the door opening by saving and dying, and then reloading in, and the door will already be open. Oh, Rufus takes an unfortunate death. Fortunately, because of Ghost Door, that save is pretty close behind, so you don't actually lose that much time dying here.
Yeah, the space between those spikes is deceivingly small. Oof, and another, he got sniped pretty bad there, but once
he
again,
might be getting a little flustered here after dying from it twice. Let's see if he tries to take it real careful here. Oh, and he avoids it. That was really close to dying a third time.
What's the demeanor like for someone? This is Rufus's first in the group. As Grim had said before we started, it's Het's last. So what's the demeanor like for someone who's doing their first race in the tournament, and it happens to be up against Hetfield?
You know, I can see that going one of two ways. Either you're going to walk saying, I'm up against the best runner in the world. Oh my gosh, everyone's going to think I look stupid. It's my first race. What if I do badly? Especially because I don't know what kind of previous tournament experience Rufus has. So he might be worried about it and really anxious. But the other option is, I'm going up against Hetfield. He's the best by a large amount. So who cares how I do? Like, everybody knows Hetfield's going to win. So I don't really have anything to be worried about. Hopefully Rufus is feeling the latter. And because of that, maybe he'll actually do better and put some pressure on Hetfield because he's feeling like maybe, you know, I don't have anything to lose, but I have everything to gain.
So Rufus is looking to be on his way out. Just did the save glitch to despawn the rocks, which makes the climb up a lot easier. And Hetfield is heading on his way over to the Spirit Well. Is that correct? I never remember the names.
Yes, they are called Spirit Wells.
You think I would learn names?
Usually they're kind of just referred to by runners as save pads or teleport pads or something like that, but Spirit Well, I believe, is the correct term. All right, Jinso, Hetfield is now entering the Jinso tree, the first big dungeon, and actually the only one we really do in the run. The other two get skipped. Watching Hetfield's movement in Jinso is like a work of art. This is a difficult area to do because it's a lot of these high-flying jumps, and our movement abilities are still pretty limited. All we have is dash and wall jump and double jump. Until we get midway through, we're going to get bash, which is going to really help out a lot. But we've still got pretty limited abilities and very dangerous and costly jumps to have to make here.
Well, and he just did those telehops there that, well, I don't know. If you've ever tried to do those telehops, they're very precise. You have to change directions at the right moment, and if you fail it, you fall all the way back down, which in the end costs you more time than if you would have just tried not to do it.
Absolutely. Telehops, even if you do them optimally, I save them at max 3 seconds, and that's like task level perfection. A human's probably going to be more like 1 or 2. So that means if you're going for them, you need to execute correctly, because if you try them but you drop one, or you're not doing it optimally, it turns out just doing it the intended way would have been better all along.
And so Hetfield's almost to the first mini boss. I've never quite understood this mini boss. It's the only like RNG part of this run, but I still, even though I've watched it so many times, am not 100% understanding how Hetfield knows where that mini boss is coming out every time.
All right, so the basic rundown, there are 5 possible places that mini boss can spawn. There's 3 on the floor and 2 on the roof. 1's in the middle and there's 2 on both sides. Now, when the mini boss shows up, it's there for a certain number of frames in which you can get in some shots on him. But as soon as he disappears, the immediate next frame, there will be a little spark that will show up for exactly 1 frame that's going to show you where he's headed to next. And so I think Hetfield actually does watch all 5 and knows where to go to. The way I do it is I just watch the bottom right, because if you stand on the left side there, you can catch all the positions except for bottom right with at least close to optimal shot cycle. But by watching the bottom right, that way if I see it there, I can just rush over there and catch that one as well.
And you can see the Rufus is doing the intended route, which without the telehopping. And you'd said telehopping saves about 3 seconds over that intended route.
That's if you're a task. If you're a human, it's 1 or 2.
So which brings us to Bash, the most hyped up skill in the game.
Well, was that new key pickup tech from Hetfield? That was cool. Hetfield just busted out a pretty cool little damage boost I hadn't seen before. Basically, he skipped across the spikes to get to later, further over in the room while he's picking up the keys. That was pretty sweet. So basically what Hetfield is trying to do here is duplicate the number of keys he's getting by picking up all the keys on the map and then putting them in that door, dying, and reloading, which will both put them back on the map and in his inventory, so he can pick up twice the number of keys that are actually available.
And it looks like he's opted for the double bash projectile there, which you don't see that often either. Oof. Hyperspeed. And Rufus is doing the mini boss. What is the with the mini boss? What is the optimal amount of times you'll see the mini boss?
Well, a task can do it, like depending on if you've leveled up quick flame or not. You can kill him in like 2 or 3 cycles. As far as in this category, if you both get perfect luck on his spawns and on when and catching him like with the fastest possible shots, then I believe it's possible to kill him in 4, but 5 is a lot more humanly feasible.
So heads through the core skip, and it looked like Rufus did level up at the right time, so his experience should be on track as well for the core skip. So both look all right there, and Rufus is headed to Bash right now as Hetfield continues to just fly through this game and decides to leave the tree.
All right, so now you can see Rufus getting a hold of Bash as well, so this should definitely speed up his gameplay a little bit. For me personally, when Vanilla came out, Dash was not in, so Bash was our premier movement ability, and it's really the reason why I wanted to run this game. I had heard of this game and heard it was quite good, but had never seen it or played it. And then I saw a race at Games Done Quick between two very talented runners, Grimelios and Ancamius. And watching that race just blew my mind. I saw Bash, I saw how pretty this game was, and I was like, I have to learn to speedrun. And immediately just downloaded the game, started playing it casually, and started learning the strats, and never looked back. And it's because of this ability Bash right here. It opens up your movement abilities in ways that I've never seen in a platformer before. What's really cool about it, actually now in DE specifically, it mixes with a lot of your other abilities in really, really good ways. Specifically, it mixes with Dash well. There's a technique in this game called Bash gliding, where when you release the Bash, you can maintain your original fast momentum if you just don't hold any directional inputs, no up, down, left, or right. And by doing so, like when you first release your Bash, you fling really quickly and then you quickly decelerate. But by holding those neutral inputs, you maintain your fast momentum. And your only ways of adjusting your momentum in the air from that are jumps and your air dash, which is something we'll be leveling up about our dash later. So Dash and Bash go together really well. You can float along and adjust your air momentum in the air and fly through enemies extremely quickly.
And it looks like Rufus is coming up on the core skip. This is actually one of my favorite as far as like movement tech goes. I love everything about this trick. Plus the amount of time it saves by not having to go to the right side of the core is fantastic. And it looks like you got it.
One of the oldest tricks in RE2. It was one of the original ones found, actually. Although it has been optimized very recently. You saw Rufus kill... Normally, what it used to be was you would launch the frog over towards the core and then kill him over there, so you picked up his energy close to the core. But people lately have been killing the frog immediately and dashing through it, and then just spamming dash until you land in the thorns, so that way you cut the time it takes to travel over there because of your dashes, and it's just a very small little optimization that saves half a second or something.
And Hetfield is through the Kuro cutscene skip, so no cutscene for Het. Now, does Het go for the extra energy here or no?
He has not in any of his runs so far. There's an energy that you can get that allows you to make some extra safety saves or use some extra charge dashes, but he's been opting to go with the normal 4. Now, whether that's because he just doesn't want to take the time to go get it, or he doesn't want to mess with his muscle memory of how much energy he has, Hetfield will have to tell you that, but he has not taken it so far.
And that brings him up to Charge Flame. So Hetfield, so I would say Hetfield's about halfway through with the run, with at least getting his abilities.
Yes, he's halfway through his abilities, but he's not halfway through the run, because the more abilities you get, the faster you can go. So realistically, he's much more than halfway through in terms of time. He probably has closer to, he's 20 minutes in, but he has 12, maybe 13 minutes left of gameplay.
Oh no, be careful, don't curse him.
Well, we've just seen Hetfield win over and over, so maybe a cursed and an upset wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
And Rufus is picking up Stomp. If you had to rate the abilities in Ori and the Blind Forest, how would you rate the top 3? As far as for speed game.
No question, it's Bash and Dash at the top. They're 11 out of 10. They are what let us go fast. And then after that, as far as important abilities, some potential options would be Charge Jump, because it lets us, launch ourselves up pretty high, like much higher than a normal jump. Maybe Double Jump, because we can use it to adjust our trajectories in Bash glides. But really, everything other than Bash and Dash is more about just supporting our Bash glide movement. And Stomp is the same way. It allows you to immediately reach terminal velocity downwards, which is useful anytime you need to move down. And it lets us break some barriers that you couldn't otherwise. But in general, it's only used in some more limited locations than the much more ubiquitous Bash and Dash.
And it does seem like Hetfield is on a good pace for himself. He is picking up Feather, which from here on out, I probably won't be able to commentate on what goes on in Hetfield's screen because it will be going too fast for me to follow. So I will let you know what's going on with Rufus. You let me know what's going on with it.
Sure. Well, speaking of Rufus, he's unfortunately watching the Kuro cutscene here. Although, let's take a look at Hetfield's screen. We get to see a really cool rocket jump there. And
what just happened
on
with Hetfield?
Rufus?
On Hetfield, he went all the way. He died. He went all the way down and had to redo the.
It looked like he launched his frog off the edge and had to go down there and kill himself and redo his setup. Which, I mean, there's a save right there, so it's not too costly, fortunately. But Rufus, unfortunately, had to watch that Kuro cutscene skip. Oh, he takes an unfortunate death there. He kind of hesitated midair. He needed to either go for it or come back earlier, and he unfortunately kind of waffled between the two and paid for it with his life. But he's going to get another shot at the Kuro cutscene skip here, which he missed the first time, and he unfortunately misses it that time. This is a very precise cutscene skip. It's so much so that when DE first came out, we actually just didn't think it was possible until we found a setup for it that makes it somewhat reliable.
And even though he did pick up the 5th health there, those spikes underneath on the way out are an insta-kill no matter how much health you have. Yes. You could have full health every health cell in the game, and you would still die if you hit those spikes. So let's see if he can get... he's going to go back up and get that 5th health again. And Hetfield's...
All right, so over on Rufus's side, you're going to see him come up to Charge Flame here shortly. Interestingly, Charge Flame is one of the earliest abilities in the game. It's actually supposed to be the one you get second, I believe, in the intended route. But because way back earlier we did that Frankie Walk, that skipped a huge portion of the game. That's actually one of the biggest sequence breaks we have. And because we skipped past it, we never actually came here to get Charge Flame, and we've moved. We've now come back to where we were supposed to be at the beginning of the game to pick it up, and are going to be continuing on into Valley. Hetfield over on the left side is finishing up Sorrow. He's dashing through some spikes on his way to get Charge Jump, which is one of the abilities I mentioned earlier. Basically, it lets you power up for a second, and then as soon as you release it, you're going to jump about 10 times as high as you normally would. Fortunately, it does not cost any energy or anything. You just have to spend the time charging it up.
So I believe Rufus also uses... you want to talk for a second the difference between mouse and keyboard and controller when it comes to the save anywhere glitch?
Yes, absolutely. So the save anywhere glitch, the reason that it's so tricky is because there is a what you're doing is you're bringing up the ability menu, which is a place where you spend where you're going to spend your level up points. And it's going to give you access to some upgrades. Like, for example, the ability to reuse a save point is one of the things that you can get. But it has the effect of saving your game when you spend one of those, and we use that to glitch some cutscenes. And because of that, it's very useful to be able to use it while we're still moving. We can go trigger a cutscene and then spend the points. But to do that, that means you have to have that menu up while you're moving. And so the same buttons that jump for you also confirm and spend points. So the nice thing about using keyboard and mouse is you can jump with your space bar, but you can hold your mouse over an ability you can't spend and prevent yourself from spending it while you're jumping. Whereas controller doesn't have that luxury. It just has the analog stick. So it's definitely a little bit trickier on controller to do it. Now, the good controller runners have no trouble with it. They've practiced it, and they're not going to mess it up. But nice. As far as just picking it up, oh, very nice Kuro cutscene skip on Rufus's side.
Yeah, he did the fast stompless, and also did a damage boost because he has the 5 health, or the 5 energy cells, or no, health cells. So he took a damage boost to get up there instead of waiting on the spider projectile.
Okay, so we can see Hetfield now has one of the less useful abilities. It's Climb. I know that's a particular fan favorite of yours, but all it really lets us do is grab onto walls and climb up them a little bit faster than wall jumps. But we're not really wall jumping at this point anyway. We're charge jumping, we're rocket jumping, things like that. It's faster than either climb or double jump, so you won't be seeing a lot of climbing.
I will definitely point out when he does climb, because it is the greatest ability. we haven't really talked much about Misty Woods. What, like, I know for when I run the game and for a lot of Misty Woods is the most fun section of the run. I don't know about you, but why do you think that is for a lot of runners?
It's a combination of two things, I think. The first one is that it's very twisty, turny, tight corridors. There's a lot of spikes, so when you fly through them, it looks very flashy. But the other thing is, at this point, we have pretty much all of our important movement abilities. So this area is kind of like the victory lap of the run, where we get to show off every bit of movement tech we have. We've got rocket jumps, we've got charge dash that we cancel with bashes and stomps to refund our energy. We've got dash gliding, we've got bash gliding, like everything that makes this game fun, we get to utilize back to back to back in this area. So if you watch Hetfield, you can just see him flying through this area by using every bit of tech we have.
And he's already out. I mean,
Yep.
he was in and he's out. And so he's moving back to Blackroot to finish up the last ability, which isn't used, period. Grenade, light grenade.
Yes. And now, just like you have a little bit of a, you have a little bit of a thing, a soft spot for your heart for climb, I've got a little bit of a pet project of my own to try and find something to use light grenade for. I thought I had found one for exiting Blackroot here a while back, but unfortunately it turned out to both be absurdly difficult and not faster at all. So we're still trying to figure that one out.
And then over here on the right side on Rufus, he's trying to get the frog juggle started. Unfortunately, he threw the frog off. Fortunately, the frog respawned immediately, so he didn't have to take a death. This section, for a lot of runs when you're watching, will seem very simple, but it is everything but. Just to get the frog on the way up is hard without hitting those spikes. So if it hits those spikes once, the frog's dead. Which is why you'll see a lot of runners taking that safety save there because of the lasers and the possibility of losing the frog.
Yeah, I specifically take the 5th energy in races just so I can drop a save right before that. And it looks easy when you just have to, you're like, oh, you just bash down. But any slight errancy in your aiming, the frog picks up a lot of horizontal momentum. And oh my goodness, Hetfield, sorry, I had to interrupt myself. Hetfield just did a ridiculously fast, very difficult swag exit from Blackroot with some rocket jumps and some charge dashes, and nearly died to a laser but pulled it off. He's on ridiculous pace here. He could very put up like a low 32 if he closes this out nicely.
He is, like I said, I can't even keep up with it. Between what's great is with dash and then the charge dash and all that stuff, I honestly, it's so hard to keep up and know exactly what's going on. He's just zooming everywhere, and especially in those sections like Misty, where you are going right to left and charge dashing on enemies like constantly. And right here, like, that is that dash canceling?
Right there, actually, he's not really doing anything that fancy, despite how cool it looked. At that point, he doesn't need any energy anymore, so burning it all on successive charge dashes. So he's just saying, I don't need resources anymore. I'm about to get refilled for the exit. Let's use them all to just go fast. Now, he is very capable of doing stomp cancels on those charge dashes that will refund his energy very quickly. But at that point, there's really no need to do it.
And it does look like he got door warp first try, and he's on his way to the horror escape, or the Kuro escape.
Hetfield is a vocal hater of door warp just because it's a 1-frame trick right at the end that is really, really easy to mess up and ruin your run. Now over on Rufus, oh no, I was about to say on Rufus, we're seeing his 5 health strats pay off because he collided with some spikes that would have killed him at 4 health. But unfortunately, he face planted into another set right after.
And this is also one of the hardest parts, especially when learning the run, because any mistakes up here are very costly as far as they will kill you. That's why 5 health is very helpful here, because it allows you to make 1 mistake, but if that
two. All right, let's watch Hetfield's fish strats here, and perfect. And all Hetfield has to do is hold right now. And I think his timer was a 31:06 when he started holding right, so that's going to be a 32:26, which, once again, absolutely absurd pace, faster than anybody else in the world can do it. Just mind-blowing that he can consistently grind out runs this insanely quick.
All
Now,
right.
Rufus, on the other hand, you know, it's easy to look at his pace right here and go, "Oh, Rufus, this is so slow." But it's really hard to describe just how much Hetfield is better than pretty much every other runner out there. We have a few like Hydra and Sigma and Lucy who can hold their own against him, but even against them, Hetfield pretty much dominated the GDQ hotfix earlier. So watching a runner like Rufus here, it's very easy to judge him a little more harshly than he deserves because he's actually doing quite well for himself. For how long he's been running and how difficult this is, he's definitely not putting on a bad performance.
And he said one of his only goals really is right now just to get more consistent in the game and to try to keep bringing his time down. His PB is a respectable 41 minutes and 3 seconds. So it's not like it's out of the picture yet for him to get close to his PB, which he said he wants to be within a minute of his PB during these races. So,
well, that's a very admirable goal, especially like if you're a newer runner and you're not see the tournament and be like, well, I won't be able to win. I might look bad in front of the stream and just say I don't want to do it. But the Ori community has really stepped up. I believe we had 36 entrants for this tournament, which is amazing. Pretty much everybody stepped up to the plate and said, I want to be a part of this. And I'm so happy to see that happen.
And it's definitely made for an exciting group so far. With that, Hetfield's done with the groups. And after the groups, they're going to be seated into a bracket, correct?
Yes. And once you reach that point, it becomes a single elimination bracket. These group stages, it's round robin, so everyone's guaranteed to play 3 matches here and then 1 group stage match. Now Hetfield, as expected, Hetfield goes 3-0 in his group with very, very convincing performances. It's going to take some of the good runners like Sigma or Hydra, Lucy, maybe Raziel, like to take him down if he's going to lose in the group stages. Something interesting, though, is it is best of 1 until the finals. So you've seen how difficult this game is. I mean, just watch, I saw somebody in chat say something earlier about they're glad they get to watch Rufus because Hetfield makes this game look easier than it is. You get to see Rufus faceplant some spikes and realize how dangerous this game is. So even Hetfield can faceplant spikes sometimes, and against somebody who's a threat, absolutely, anybody can lose a best of 1.
I think the hotfix earlier today definitely proved that anything can happen at any time, and especially when it's a one and done kind of format where if you just have that one bad race, that could be it. I mean,
Sigma beat him twice in their 3 races. Even though they weren't matched up against each other directly, of the 4 runners, Sigma beat him 2 of the 3 races. So if any one of those had been their best of 1, that's Hetfield out of the tournament.
And I believe even Lucy beat him in one of the races, correct?
Yes, Lucy not only beat him, but also PB'd on that race, by the way. That's pretty cool to PB in front of 3,500 people, huh?
So looks like Rufus did take a death there to the mini-boss. About this mini-boss, I see there's multiple ways of defeating it. What is probably the most comfortable for you, and what do you think is the most comfortable for like new runners?
There's quite a few strats for it. The fastest one is called Bang Bang Pow, and I believe only Hydra uses it regularly. It's really quick, really precise, and if you mess it up, it's very costly because you've burned all your energy and probably took some damage. The one I use is called Boom Boom Boom, which is still a 1 cycle, but it's a slower 1 cycle. That's a pretty easy one to learn if you want to get started with a quick kill, but what Rufus is doing here, where he kind of takes the 2 bosses on one at a time, and uses his charge jump to reflect his shot back at him and a charge flame to do extra damage. That's a pretty good place to start. You'll get a 2 cycle, but as long as you get a nice, reliable 2 cycle, that is more than enough for until you start getting, sub 40 times and you need to start optimizing a little more. Oh, unfortunate death.
I was really worried because he didn't go pick up that energy to put a safety save, so I was about to say I'm hoping he can get out of there. And to the save to the spirit well, but it looks like he had trouble with the projectile and the spikes, so back we go up. And I would like to point out that he does not use climb there.
Now climb is faster than wall jumping up by just a tad, so if he wants to climb, that would be the place to do it. But it's really easy to forget to even use it because you don't get it until late, and it's used in so few places. Still continuing to not safety safe here. It'd be very easy to make the decision to, play it safe, but Rufus, he's confident in his ability to beat this boss and get back out of Misty. Doesn't think he needs to put it down.
So with not taking the safety save, though, it does make the exit from Misty more of a gauntlet, just because it becomes super risky. Because his next save point will be the Spirit Well.
Yeah, there's a teleport coming up, and when you finish teleporting, it auto-saves for you, but if you don't have like a very optimized exit with stomp cancels and stuff, you'll usually want to take the save on the pad because it refills your energy. So that's both a refill on your health energy and your and it stays for you. Rufus did a mid-air stomp cancel there, by the way, which is a pretty difficult thing to do. I'm kind of impressed, and it takes a lot of guts to do it over the cliff like that, because if he hadn't stomp canceled with the jump correctly, he would have just go plummeting down to the bottom of Valley, and it's a very slow strat to get back out of there again.
Yeah, he said he was going to try to do the Kuro cutscene skip, fast stompless, and stop cancels, and out of those three things, he struggled with Kuro cutscene, which is understandable. It's such a small window to set that cutscene off, but he definitely got the fast stompless and stomp cancels, so it's pretty impressive.
2 out of 3 is not bad. Yeah, that's pretty cool of Rufus to tackle some pretty execution heavy stuff still relatively early on in his speedrunning career. A lot of people don't start to do those until they've got a little bit faster PVs, but he's saying, no, I want the hard stuff now. I've done the practice, I know how to do it, I can do it in races, I can do it in PV attempts. That's pretty cool.
So here's one of those save anywheres to skip the cutscene and take us down to Light Grenade, which after this point he will be making his way out of Blackroot and on his way to Mount Huro to do the last part, which is Door Warp and Fish Strats. So, oh, by the way, speaking of Fish Strats, everyone was wondering why you didn't go for Fish Strats, Rubes.
Because I had so I typed this in chat, but my shift button actually broke in the middle of the run, and that's what you use to use your feather. Now luckily I have it bound to my mouse button, one of my side mouse buttons, but my muscle memory, I kind of alternate depending on where I'm at. Oh no, that's unfortunate. Took some death on that laser, but he did get a cool exit strat. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, I tend to switch between feathering with my mouse or my shift button depending on the area and what I'm doing as far as other actions at the time. But I was having to kind of adjust and do all my feathering with my mouse. So because of that, I was already feeling like not confident and I made a lot of mistakes, and I did not have randoms and stream up, so I didn't know what his pace was like. So as far as I knew, he was ahead of me or right on my heels. And Fish Strats does save the 2 seconds, but if you missed it, you lose a minute and a half. So I just decided for racing purposes, it was smarter to lose the 2 seconds but guarantee finishing the Kuro escape.
So Rufus did take another death there on the boulder escape. Apparently there are a lot of things in Blackroot that will one-shot you.
Yeah, it's a really mean area because, even though we've come into this area with a ton of abilities, a lot of this is either just a straight instant kill or it does enough damage to kill you anyway. The boulder will definitely squish you. These lasers will fry you in one go. All right, let's see if he gets this here. Okay, yeah, nice. Charge dashes up to the slime to keep himself from falling back down into the boulder and makes it out.
At what point in this run do you start feeling a little bit more relieved?
For me personally, it's when I'm done with Sorrow Pass, which was that sort of orangey, rocky area with a lot of spikes. I struggle in there a lot. Once I'm into Misty, I start feeling pretty good because that's my favorite area of the game and I've practiced it more than anywhere else. So at that point, it starts to feel a little more natural. I feel like I'm in my element. I just need to do a good Misty and then close out. But before that, there's a lot of difficult tricks that I'm still very nervous about.
Does Door Warp ever worry you when you're going into it? I have heard stories.
Time.
I've heard stories of disasters at Door Warp.
What kind of stories have you heard, Rue?
Well, there's something about saving before or leaving before the save, automatic save, and
So a certain runner named the Roos is Loose may have, on his first sub 40 ever pace run, gotten a door warp, and instead of waiting for the autosave inside, exited out, which brought me back to my last save, which was minutes before, and completely killed the run. That was not a good day. I was on like low 39 pace and managed to not sub 40. So that was a bad day.
So you exited out of the game before it had made the save in the game?
Yes, the way this trick works is you go in and you need to wait for the game to autosave for you, and then you exit out. And by doing that, you re-enter and press up on the first frame that the game loads in, and it's gonna, like, the dungeon won't be loaded, so it kind of warps you down to the bottom. And unfortunately, I was so focused and so, like, you know, my heart was pounding. I was ready to get to the end of the run and get this PB that I didn't wait for the autosave. I just immediately exited out, and as soon as that file exited out, I just had this dawning realization of horror and knew exactly how big of a mistake that was.
So now we're on the final escape here, trying to get away from Kuro, who's just not happy with us the entire game.
Fortunately, now that we have dash and charge dash and all that, it's, you know, that if you spend too long in any one section, Kuro will come and just ruin your day. But we're so fast with dash and charge dash and things that it really just doesn't matter anymore. We can get away with it from her quite easily. It does happen that you get caught and die, but not often. All right, looks like Rufus will not be going for fish traps here. He's just going to take this safe exit, charge dash up one more time, grab these rocks, and now he'll be holding right to finish up the game. Time is called when the last input is done. He'll gain control of a character called Naru that we haven't seen so far, and when he walks behind a tree, that's the last input you're allowed to make before the game's over, and that's when we call time traditionally.
So, overall, not a bad run. Probably be somewhere around 44-20, I'm guessing?
Yeah, this will be a low 44. And you said Rufus's PB is like a mid 40, right?
It's a 41:03.
Okay, so being around 3 minutes off in his first race, specifically against Hetfield, is not too bad. Especially in the early game, I really feel like Rufus put on a great show. He was keeping pace with Hetfield much better than expected. Now later on, once zillions of stomp cancels and stuff come into play, nobody can keep up with Hetfield. Like it's impossible. So that's when Hetfield started to pull away. But especially in the early game, I think Rufus should walk away from this race quite proud of himself.
So let's talk a little bit as Rufus is finishing up his run, what we have to look forward to the rest of the night.
So I believe we have 5 more. Let me pull up the schedule here. We've got a lot of really good races.
So we have 4 more. We have 4 more. So the next race we have Fant TV versus Razel. Lucy versus Monkley will be a good one. After that will be Meldon Tarragon versus Rivid. And then to finish up the night will be Rufus again versus Odie.
Very cool. So you said the next one was Fant versus Raziel, correct?
Yes.
All right, that'll be a good one. Raziel is another one of those runners that's picked up the game recently, but has just been on a tear. Of that sort of new wave of runners, he was the first one to bot my PB, and he's really, really good now. Fant as well, like very solid. He's putting in the work. He's getting better and better. I'm really excited to see what he's able to do.
Yeah, Raziel it's super impressive because only been playing since December of 2016.
All right, and I think joining us, we've got Vuligin back. He's going to help transition us over into the next races. How you doing today, Vuligin?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Great. That was a fun race to watch.
It was. So I am pretty excited for this race coming up. We got Fant and Raziel, as you guys said. A good thing to mention actually about Raziel, he has definitely been on a really big tear since he started running the game, but he actually has been off of the game for he had a 2-week break really where he just could not play the game. He was, I think, either away on vacation or business or something like that. So he's kind of been trying to like get back his stride a little bit, but his recent practice on his personal stream, he's been having a tough time, and he hasn't been very happy with it recently. So we're gonna see if if he's able to kind of get back to that same level in this race, or maybe, who knows, anything can happen.
All right, that'll definitely be interesting. I mean, as you guys have seen from pretty much everyone but Hetfield, mistakes abound and time gets lost everywhere. So anything can happen, absolutely.
Indeed. So how far did you guys get in the preview of the next couple races? I see we've got some other good stuff coming up after this.
We didn't talk in detail about a lot of them, but we went through and said who was
cool. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. We're going to already have Rufus, of course, is going to be in his second race already later tonight, which is crazy.
Oh, he's got two in one night. Wow.
Yeah, right?
Good for him.
I guess he just decided he wanted to kind of hammer them out and get them out of the way. Hetfield obviously already finished all his matches for the entire group stage, so he's done until mid-March, basically. Which, I mean, for Hetfield will have very little effect on his play in the bracket stage.
I'm sure he'll have put up like a 28 by then.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, a lot of really good matchups coming up. Another thing to watch really after this race with Fant and Raziel that we're going to have in a little bit. Lucidus will be coming back up, and Lucidus just earlier today participated in the hotfix, and this is going to be her 4th race of the day, and it's kind of crazy when you think about that.
And I mean, you guys just saw how mind-blowing Hetfield's play is. Lucy actually beat him in a race earlier today, so she's one of the few runners capable of doing that. She'll definitely be exciting to watch.
Rue, is there any particular match tonight that you're pretty interested in? Or for that matter, this entire weekend?
Right, there were so many good races. I think the Lucy Monkley one is one that I've been wanting to watch. I just feel that's going to be a super good race. And as far as like tomorrow goes on Sunday, I'm looking forward to Sigma and Red. I think that'll be a good race. It'll be, I believe, Red's first race of the tournament. And Red is fun to watch because in Vanilla we had a little battle going on for a long time. So she's someone that I've watched run Ori for a long time.
Indeed. She actually... Sorry, go ahead, Dors.
Oh, I was going to ask you which ones you're looking forward to, Voligen.
Oh, man. Kind of the same. There's a lot of them that I'm looking forward to, but let's see. Tomorrow we've got some good stuff. On Monday, there we go. On Monday we got 2 of the big ones that I really wanted to see. We've got Smashy versus Mr. Randomson. That's going to be a pretty close race, I think. Smashy and Buttercup are both pretty similar levels of skill. Their PBs, when the tournament initially seeded, their PBs were different by 2 entire seconds.
Wow.
I believe that's changed a little bit since then. Randomson's gotten some PBs. Smashy's on the cusp. Like, it feels like she's going to be getting a really solid time really soon.
Yeah, she's got that some of the best way down below her PB, so it's coming soon.
Yep, and that's the thing with Ori, too, is everyone always seems to end up with some of the best way lower than their PB. So
yep, absolutely.
They're always due. The other matchup that night that should be pretty good is going to be Roos versus Epic Cat.
Oh, thank you.
It'll be interesting because you are actually the higher seed in that group, right? But Epic, his time, I believe, is... I want to say he bopped you at some point?
He did, yes, by quite a bit, actually. His time is definitely better than mine, but at the time of seeding, mine was still ahead.
Yeah, Epic's PB was a couple days ago, so... That'll be interesting to watch. I know you've been
one of the ones I'm scared of. Absolutely.
You've been trying to work on kind of getting back your your groove too a little bit, right?
Yeah, I've been running some other games a little bit. Ori's one of those games that I never, but I'll work on some other games and then come back to Ori, and then work on some other games, come back to Ori. So definitely trying to get back to being my fastest on this one. So we'll see if I can pull that off against Epic Cat.